A warm welcome to all of you and to the panelists for today's theme and this session. I think this session is a very important one, especially in the context of AI in today's world, because the theme of this session sits right at the intersection of marketing, human behavior, and tech. Can consumer emotion be decoded by tech? Can we actually understand empathy and nuance by leveraging tech the way we are doing today and the way we plan to do in the future? This question is pertinent because today India sits at the cusp of an explosion in AI-led marketing. Close to 900 million internet users, more than 100 million online shoppers, and a super fast growing digital payments ecosystem. India has never had it better, bigger, and faster. But even today, if you ask marketers and business leaders in the room, do they really understand how customers and consumers behave? They're at a loss for words. They know how they behave, they just don't know why they behave like that. And is our dependence on AI to decode that for us too much to ask? That's something that we'll delve into today. India is a very complex market because one movie release, one Instagram reel, one cricket match, one ad film going viral for all the right reasons, something getting cancelled for all the wrong reasons, anything can shift consumer sentiment overnight. And all the work that we've done, all the intelligence we've gathered can come to naught. The question now is that with AI, machine learning, sentiment analytics, neuro insights, and a lot of the buzzwords that keep floating around, especially in marketing circles, we have unprecedented intelligence more than ever before. But for that very reason, Indian consumers are demanding unprecedented empathy. We have an august panel with us today who have built brands, who have built deep emotional connections with audiences, who have built technologies to do that across the country over the years. So without any further ado, let's dive straight in and see what their take is on decoding consumer emotions and whether AI is really capable of that. I'm going to start with Ankur. Ankur, upGrad as a business helps people transition over careers. They help people upscale, reskill. Tell me, with all the sort of millions and lakhs and millions of people going through upskilling in their journey, in their careers, is technology really capable of capturing Indian cultural nuance? Are we overestimating what AI is capable of in terms of understanding the context and being empathetic towards something that a person applying for a course is looking for?
Yeah, so question, if the question is for today, I think no, it's not possible. The AI has been majorly trained on whatever is available online, and a lot of India is not available online. So if you talk about the dialects and the languages and the kind of diversity we have in our country, it's not possible for AI right at present, the models which we are using, all of us, to identify with the person in terms of the language, the culture, the state, the city, and maybe the very, very small locality is coming from. It's not possible. Leave aside that, I think I have seen when I asked, because we have a chat bot which helps learners to study, and when they have a question, they come to it. And some of the learners are frustrated, as you the only thing I could find through the AI chatbot today is that whether the emotion was positive or negative. If you go to the next level and ask was he frustrated? Was he sarcastic? Was he, and sense of humor anyway is missing completely from the AI. You ask it to make a joke for you and you will you laugh at what kind of poor joke he's writing. And he's trying to ask you this question, did I make you smile? Not even laugh. So I think the emotion part will not always, but at present I don't see, because this has been trained on all the available material and not has gone at least into depth of the India. It has not gone The government is working on the initiatives. Maybe in future we will have those models who will understand. At present, what we see, it is a good tool. It helps you if your aim is to get learning. If you have some questions which are something which it can answer. But once you start becoming friend with it and you start asking question, oh, I am missing exam, what should I do? Then it will not be able to answer. Or if someone is sending a frustrating message, okay, I have asked this question multiple times, you are not able to answer it, then it just fails. It will further frustrate the person by giving the same reply. So it's a tough. It's right now at this point, I think it's a very tough journey to capture emotions.
Thanks, Ankur. Ankur, that's a very interesting point you raised about sarcasm, frustration. With that, I'll segue towards Jagdish. Jagdish, we've heard of techifying human behavior, but you are humanizing tech. Help us understand, can AI sentiment analysis truly capture, in a country as varied culturally, linguistically, demographically as ours, is it possible to capture all the English, sarcasm in multiple languages, the cuss words, or is it something too much to ask?
Firstly, thanks everyone. Thanks HumanizeTech.ai for this discussion. And like you said, Rohit, it's a very relevant discussion about how AI is going to play a role. Yes, our brand is called HumanizeTech.ai, primarily because we strongly believe in the power. We are building, by the way, enterprise-grade AI agents. So it's not necessarily only about marketing, but across the board to help enterprise work through CRM, through business process, and ERP. But in that whole journey, what we are trying to do is to make sure, I really don't like the term human in the loop. I think what we are trying to do is human at the center. And I think we are trying to combine two things, deep tech and human acumen. And that's what I meant by saying that you can humanize tech. It's not meant necessarily from an empathy angle, but empathy obviously has a very strong human view to it, and sentiment analysis. To your point about can AI do it, my humble opinion on this of what I can tell, India is probably the most difficult market to do this. We've got 22 official languages, we've got many dialects, we have got English, I am being a bong from Bihar, living in Delhi, I don't know what Lish I speak, but I think I speak a combination of all these three. Then there's TAM English. So you don't know what people are speaking. And the younger generation, to your target audience, my children or anyone of that group whom you are trying to sell to, they speak a common set of language which is very difficult to codify. So, for example, kya scene hai in Mumbai versus Delhi can mean a very different thing. And, so we have to be very, very careful about how this is, today addressed. Answer to it is, can AI understand? Yes, the language and the codify. Does AI understand our culture? No. And you can't give, sentiment analysis unless and until you are able to understand culture. But there are solutions to it, and we can probably address it. The solutions are not overnight. Solutions are about building data sets which are Indian. Solutions are about training the data set on languages that are Indian. And it's a huge market. I mean, I think like everything else, everyone will bring the latest Indigo crisis as the case study for every example. I was going to do the same, that, at the end of the day, did that for a company and a brand of that nature, did the empathy or the sentiment analysis show? I think if I ask a question, the answer will be unanimously no. So it didn't train the chatbot, it didn't train and they have a pretty good conversational AI chatbot like what we were discussing about upGrad. But it didn't train it, and so it didn't result in it. And therefore, ideally, that's where the problem lies. AI will tell you the code, but if you don't teach them on culture, it will never give you the sentiment analysis. And in India, it is the most complex market to deliver.
Agree with you, Jagdish, entirely. I think you were right. India has dozens of languages. It has hundreds of subcultures. And if you look around, there are actually millions of micro movements that determine how we feel every single day. There are demographic audiences very different from the ones in this room, and they're subject to all of this. Now, sentiment analysis is a nice sounding word, and like Jagdish said, yes, if you work with different data sets across the country, and you have, you have models that work for each data set, it is possible. The question then is, as consumers, we all want personalization, but we don't want to be tracked. We don't want to be monitored. And we don't want to feel that someone's intruding into our space. So my next question to Gaurav is, are Indian consumers becoming more emotionally expressive online, or are they becoming now more emotionally unpredictable?
Thanks, Rohit. Actually, I would say they are being both. They are very much vocal about what they feel about any brand, any activation which is happening around them. And they are very emotionally vocal also about certain things that they don't like. As Jagdish recently mentioned about the Indigo crisis. Like there have been millions of posts on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, everywhere about the issue that they're facing. So they're very much vocal. This generation is more, I would say, meme savvy. They know what is happening in the reel, what is trending. So the brand have to be very careful in terms of what they are promoting. They have to be very agile in terms of managing their customer and audience and being more relevant. So for example, let's say what Amul does is pretty nice with their topical ads. They have been doing it for more than 40 years now. And they have been very relevant to the current audience, the previous audience, as in the Gen Z, the millennials and everyone, because they have been playing right with emotions, they're playing right with the trends also, and they've been very relevant in the market as compared to the other brands. The brand have to be very, very much consumer-centric. With regards to data also, which you mentioned, they have to be very visible, they have to be very transparent. People like to get personalized messages. So I use Zomato, I use Zepto, but I want to know like which are my best, the products that I like more. The data has to be very transparent that they are tracking. It shouldn't feel very creepy to the consumer actually. So it's very important, and how brands are being transparent about what data they're capturing, how they're capturing, and how they're retargeting in terms of how relevant or what value exchange they're providing me as a consumer for them.
Thanks, Gaurav. Um, Let us pivot a little bit into a different space, a space which is close to my heart. I think we're all talking about the Indigo crisis, food ordering apps, consumer emotions, branding, communication, all of that. It means different things to different people, depending on what we use and what kind of products or services we consume. But the one thing that touches every life in this country in the same manner is healthcare. So I'm going to segue towards Nitin, and I'm going to ask a question to Nitin about the business that he is in. Where has AI started taking over human touch and human connect? Do you think there are spaces where human connection, human interface remains irreplaceable? And where do brands actually go wrong when they try to automate something that is essentially human in nature, and it backfires?
Hello. Thank you. First of all, thanks MarTech team for having me here. And I think we are discussing a lot about AI, and healthcare is something which is very sensitive. We know like it directly touches to the patient and the clinician, and like no, the marketing aspect of healthcare has to be very, very, I would say integrity wise, very good. So coming to the main question, I think probably AI is helping a lot in terms of delivering healthcare, I would say. And like, no, there was a time that each X-ray has to be scanned by like, no, a doctor, a time is spent. And now we have like, no, AI solutions available, which can segment like, no, probably 60% of normal X-rays. So a lot of time for clinician is saved, and the delivery, healthcare delivery has like, no, gone more efficient with it. Coming to the marketing part, I think probably healthcare, again, I would say, I think previous panelists said, I would say the predominant thing is empathy. You are dealing with a human emotion. Saying that knee replacement ratio success is 70%, the person who reads feels part of a transaction, rather than saying like, no, you do this and then you can live the life you want. So I think empathy is there. AI is certainly helping it. I would give one example which I read last week. I think there was a particular ethnicity lady, and she was like, no, going for some mental health condition, and she was visiting like, no, doctors. But when you are there in face to face, like, no, doctors also get biased and like, no, with that ethnicity. And she was frustrated, and she tried the chat also. But chat also, I think there was a provision to, like, you can disclose your ethnicity. Like, no, if you disclose, the answers were again biased. There, I think we have to be very, very careful how we use AI, because AI is all about data. And if data is not like integrated, and or the data integrity is not there, then we will get these kind of biases. Because you can like, no, understand a lady who is like, no, getting biased in a physical environment and all. And again, like when she uses an AI agent where she trusts that it's an automated system, it should not have bias, but again, she's getting the bias result. So I think things are evolving, but healthcare, I think let us be very like, no, careful. It's a regulated space as well. So I think human touch is directly involved. So I think with care, we are moving in right direction, and healthcare brands are also doing a great job.
Thanks, Nitin. Ankur, coming back to you, you mentioned how difficult it can be to really delve deep enough to understand what is the aspiration of someone looking to, undergo a course on the upGrad platform. My question to you is a little connected. Obviously, as a business, you would like to understand as much as possible about everyone who's coming to the platform, no matter what their background is, what their aspiration is, what are they looking to get out of the course that they will undertake. How do you balance the hyper-personalization with which you address each of these people who come on the platform with privacy intrusion, concerns?
So if the data or the interactions, whatever they do on platform is used for improving their learning, I think that is a good use case. So current focus is more to understand, let's say, how often he comes to study, at what time of the day he will come to study, how much time will he spend studying on that day on platform. Is he struggling with a particular concept, which a video he is reviewing again and again, or is he not doing well in certain quizzes? And if I can figure that out, that this is the place where he needs support, and I give him that particular moment, the concept note or whatever, the additional support which I can provide him, or I set up a TA with him, with a real human, not with the AI. That's a positive use case of leveraging the data. And I think these are the surprises we want our learners to get when they come on the platform. Okay, this tool understood, this platform understood that I'm not able to get this particular module, and it is telling me, okay, what else I can do. Is a positive use case. Now, if you start using the same thing, and one of the negative use case which comes to my mind is that when he goes for a job interview, or when he's applying for a particular job on the portal, and we start sending some of the data that this guy was not very highly motivated, he was very infrequent, he missed all his assignment, then it's a negative use case, because obviously maybe industry is also my customer and I want them to recruit the best of the guys, but do I really need to share this personal information which I know because he has been studying on my platform? So that part we have to be very careful. How do we leverage the data, whether it is being used to help him or whether it is being used to help someone else. Similarly, if you're trying to do marketing on the platform, someone has completed the course and then you're saying, okay, I have a personalized course for you. Maybe it's ambiguous now, whether it's a positive or negative. Obviously, as a company, we want him to enroll in the next course. But if you become too much into his data and start giving him creepy stuff, then obviously he will come back and say, why are you using this data to tell me that, okay, I am not good in particular things, so you should do this additional course. So you have to be very careful, but honestly, data is being captured. The person who's going to use the data has to be careful. We are not stopping from collecting the data. That everybody, I was just talking to some gentleman outside and he was saying, I can tell you about students on your platform who have not even told you anything about what they were watching in Netflix yesterday. So that gives me a privacy concern. Why do I need to know what was you doing in a Netflix yesterday when I'm here to teach him? So we have to be very careful in how we use this data.
Thanks, Ankur. I think you touched upon a very important point that we will come to in a bit, and I'll probably ask all the panelists about this. How much of the way marketers use AI to decode consumer emotions is self-regulated, and how much of it is by virtue of the regulatory frameworks and permissions or disallowances that we work with. But let's just go a little ahead on that subject. Ankur, you spoke about how when somebody comes to the platform, we try and capture a lot of the nuances behind what they're looking for from the platform. My question is to Jagdish. Jagdish, how can brands ensure that by virtue of collecting all the intelligence that they're doing, they don't end up actually empathy washing when they talk to consumers?
Absolutely true. And first thing that I think we all, as people in marketing or in and around marketing, need to realize that empathy is not a campaign. Empathy is a demonstration of a behavior. And we sometimes, I think, make the mistake of realizing that it starts and ends with a marketing department. And that's where it will become washing. And it's probably the way to use digital is to tell you what you need to do and how do you need to make sure the data points that need to be addressed. Like, for example, if you're, all of us in our corporate worlds immediately talk about on Women's Day, women empowerment. But does the culture really reflect women empowerment? That will define whether you're actually using or you're demonstrating the brand's empathy or you're washing. Similarly for green, I mean, it's the most commonly misused term for sustainability. And you'll go around and see in the company that there is hardly anything being done to do sustainability except 3 days when you have to switch off the power or green day or something like that. But there are brands, and I'm sure there are many, many of them that actually live the world. And the question to ask ourselves is that, at the end of the day, how do we use technology to help make sure that, whatever we are promoting today as empathetic, and it's true for individuals, but we are not here on a, personal coaching mission. But if brands are talking about being empathetic, then they have to also demonstrate actions and the role of tech there. I think the role of tech in that is extremely significant. It can tell you what is your target base, what do they feel about the brand today, how do you leverage and sentiment analysis using the first question that you had, how do you know whether what you're doing is actually changing the behavior? Because if you're not doing it, then you're doing as a tick in the box and saying, I'm running a campaign, and it will not change any impression about your brand in the future. So to me, empathy washing, most important fact is to realize that it does not start and end with the marketing department.
Very valid. In fact, that reminds me of a very popular quote, which I think every MBA would have heard at least once in business school, is that marketing is too important to be left to the marketing department. Moving on from there, taking a cue from what Jagdish just said, we hear of terms like, Gaurav, this is to you. We hear of terms like neuroanalytics, neuroinciting, emotion AI, eye tracking, voice analytics is something that's picking up some momentum now. What do you think are the main AI tools that you see over the next decade or so being leveraged more and more, especially to capture as much as possible of the human sentiment?
That's a very great question, I would say, Rohit. The thing is, in the next 10 years, I feel most of the service industry would be heavily dependent on all the AI tools, be it healthcare, so now there are companies who are working towards detecting cancer at an early stage. There are AI tools which are helping. Since I would say AI is taking care of all the left side of the brain for us, where all the calculation, operational, right now they are pretty much helpful. The right side is where we need all the human empathy, we need the creativity that has to be taken care. So I would suggest the service industry is where all the AI tools would be utilized, be it eye tracking. For example, let's say all the brands right now are pretty much peculiar about what kind of packaging that they're offering. And because your packaging has to be eye-catchy at times, especially when you're designing for kids or you're designing for any other segment. Similarly, healthcare is another place where a lot of developments are happening, not only in MRI setup, which already Nitin has mentioned, but even for diagnosing and figuring out the data. So for example, let's say if some cancer is not treatable right now, maybe future down the line in 5 years or 10 years, because of the past case history, which is humanly impossible to understand across the globe what has happened in different cancer situations. But AI can provide that data set pretty fast to us, and it can help us to make the right judgment call in terms of operating a patient. So I feel it's going to be very evolving in next 5 years, and lot of places are going to be heavily dependent on AI tools, be it banking, be it quick commerce, be it e-commerce, even for agencies like us where creative adaptation, creating videos, there are certain misuses also like deepfakes and all, which are creating certain issue in the market. But then obviously everything has plus and minus both. But I feel there is a lot of things which are going to happen in next 5 years, which we'll be witnessing soon.
Thanks, Gaurav. Nitin, Gaurav mentioned about healthcare, and as I mentioned earlier, healthcare is a subject that touches all of us because irrespective of age, gender, social background, we all need healthcare support at some point in time. Can you share any specific example of how technology was able to interpret human behavior in your business, positively or negatively, and you were surprised by the way it did that?
I think a quite good question. So I would say I am surprised positively in healthcare delivery. Certainly we all know like no radiation equipment, which he just mentioned, like targeted, like no, if you have cancer, then targeted therapies, CTs and all. So now AI has helped and like no reduce the radiation to a level. And I think there is a lot of awareness among the patient as well, which has resulted into like now you see hospitals and diagnostic center mentioning that we have AI equipped equipment which gives less radiation. So that is, I think, probably one of the use of AI, and finally it's benefit patient. And like no, we have like no, not that I want to promote FUJIFILM, that we have like no AI run center in Gurgaon itself named as Neura. It is totally AI driven, and I think in 3 hours you get all radiology, pathology training, testing done, and you walk away with the report. Like it was a big surprise for me when I initially heard the concept. It is run by a different team, but you enter almost 3 hours of like no, there are different tests, radiology test and other stuff, and you walk out of report. That is purely possible only because of AI is there, and that's such a short turnaround time, which I think if you really go to any hospital and do all these things, it will take a day. So one is your time is saved. Probably in 3 hours you are able to do all the things. Second, it gives you very predictive analysis, which I think he mentioned. What are the chances? You may be okay today, but what are the chances of breast cancer maybe after a year? So every year there is a scorecard. I was really amazed. Of course, it's a FUJIFILM solution, so I like no am happy also. But this is amazing, and like if you see the predictive analysis, it will clearly tell you what are your chances of getting into tough diseases, what are the precautions needed, and every year if you do it, there is a scorecard automatically done everything. I don't think if you collect this data manually and analyze, it will at least take 2 days. So to my surprise, I think Neura is something. Maybe you can go online and see it is something. So these my point is not only Neura, but these kind of things which are happening, which is helping clinician. I always say healthcare AI cannot drive. You can do CT scan through AI, like no, but reading and interpretation has to be done by the doctor. It is impossible that AI will give you the full result. So I think healthcare, I am very excited because I am a healthcare person, so I keep talking about healthcare. But a lot of things are happening which will benefit each one of us because we are like no part of healthcare delivery system either way, either the receiver or the giver.
Thanks, Nitin. Very, very exciting. An excellent example. Thank you for sharing that. As we come towards the end of the session, I would like to wrap up with the entire panel very quickly in one sentence, no more than that. Your take on the subject of can AI decode human emotion?
Right now, no, and I think that's why human at the center has to be there. we can't outsource marketing to the AI.
So I feel we are evolving pretty fast, but I would say still human touch is very much required.
We are on the right path and we are yet to reach there, but I think human intervention will definitely be required. It cannot be automated because empathy cannot be taught to AI.
Yes, it can. It's only a matter of time. And I think it can decode emotions, it can't decode culture yet.
Thank you. While we wrap up this session, I think just to summarize what we've spoken so far, very clearly what's emerging is that tech and AI can help capture attention, but it can't help build affection. And probably in today's technology-heavy and technology-led business scenario, that is really the competitive advantage that businesses have if they're able to leverage human interface, the human sense of judgment, culture, empathy, along with all the reams of data and predictions that AI models do for us. That's the advantage, the competitive advantage that we stand to have. And probably that is really the last bastion of human supremacy that still exists today. So with that, a big thank you to all the panelists and to MarTech AI for organizing this. Thank you, everyone.